Hi, this is Jenny Rice with BizTips Podcast. I'm so very excited about our guest today. We have Chris Dayton, who's a strategic payment advisor. Welcome.
It is great to be here. Thanks for having me, Jenny.
Yeah. Why don't you start with telling everybody a little bit about yourself and your background?
Okay. Yeah, it seems like I've been in sales just about my whole life, to one degree or another. No matter what I've done in sales, I've always kind of moved or shifted to the side of building key relationships. Transactional sales maybe haven't been my forte or my favorite, but really building those long-term relationships, creating value, and helping win new business, and then maintain that over the long haul. And I felt, my career has been blessed. Me personally, I've been blessed by a lot of those relationships that I've been developed, and some of the value I've been able to provide over the years. It's been in healthcare, it's been in e-commerce, it's been in tech, and I find even though the industries may differ, the same principles apply. Uh, be a good person, do right by your customer, and you don't need to worry about looking over your shoulder or who's coming at you, because you've done a good job. You can hold your head high and be proud of what you do.
That's great. It's so great that I like the word you use, partner with, because it's about working together collaboratively to come to a solution, right? It's not about me
Yeah.
necessarily telling you what to do. It's like, let's work together to collaborate to come up with the best optimization, right?
No, absolutely, and it is amazing how different it is. When you have a conversation, you say you need to buy this, or I'm telling you this, versus, hey, I know your business. I've been watching it, been working together for a long time, and I see you maybe have a challenge here. I know a solution over here that could work great. And if you have that relationship, that partner mentality, then it's usually better received, but also, you're not going to spend a lot of time on things that really don't provide value or move the needle. You know what they
Absolutely.
want, you know what they need, and then you're able to find those solutions, bring those together, and it strengthens the business, strengthens the partnership,
Yeah.
and helps foster a really good environment for growth
Yeah.
going forward.
Absolutely. And I know you provide such great solutions and you have great stories to tell and the benefit of your services. Why don't you share a little bit more about that?
Sure. So in the payment space, I really came into it by accident almost. I was in healthcare for a long time. Started as a benefit broker for large groups, and really learned kind of the craziness of our healthcare system, where a lot of the breaks are internally. The data is siloed, and oftentimes the customer um, gets to pay the high cost and doesn't really understand what makes that up or where that money goes. Um, when COVID hit, some partners and I had a healthcare company, and it was not healthcare or COVID related. And so we had to pump the brakes on all of our relationships, all of our activities, and I had to pivot. And at that point, I had a colleague reach out to me that had a payment company, and he said, "We know you know people. We know you have relationships with companies, and since your healthcare business is on hold right now, we'd like you to work with us and help us make introductions into some companies that we think we could benefit." So I learned a little bit more about the payment company, about the payment industry, and because I had built relationships, I was able to then introduce something which was entirely different than healthcare, but yet still provide a really strong value. And I learned there were a lot of similarities in the industries, where the payment space as well, it's very siloed, very legacy, big companies kind of control that. And there's not a lot of data. There's not a lot of information coming to the merchant. It's, here's what you pay it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to take credit cards. And so I really learned there's got to be a better way to offer service strategy, and partner with the businesses so that the payments cannot be a kind of a necessary evil, but rather a strategic approach to really help them grow.
That's great because, it might be payments you might say, well, are they important? Well, yeah, they're important. If we don't get
Mhm.
paid, we don't have a business. So it's one of those things, it might be, oh, I don't want to look at that. But when you look at that, saving money, making sure you're not missing payments, which I know you had a story about somebody missed some payments just by virtue of their setup and things like that. So having
Sure.
people analyze that so they have the best solutions in place to making sure they know their data, they know their clients, they know that things are working, et cetera, right?
Absolutely, and things are changing so fast. Even though I say there may be problems in the payment industry, the fact that we can swipe a little plastic card and within seconds have, money transferred and be able to walk out with a purchase is remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, things are changing quickly. And, with it used to be cash or check, and then credit cards got introduced. And now you have, you have, it's touchless. You've got your Apple, your wallets, everything's on your phone. Buy now, pay later. There's so many different options, and to have a payment strategy to work such that your customers can make the purchase as easily and as frictionless as possible. Otherwise, they may go somewhere else. And so really, it's important to keep up on technology, which is amazing. Provide all the options you can and create that user experience that, helps kind of finalize that purchase and allows that to all
Yeah.
happen.
That's a really good insight in there because it's not just about the process of doing it, it's about the user interface and the ease of use that your customers are having with doing that too, because you don't want them to go away because, hey, just processing is frustrating. And I've done that myself where I've been online and I'm like, it's too difficult. Just pay. I'm trying to buy a product, so I don't buy it. Right. So if
Yeah.
they had thought about that, they're losing sales. They probably don't even know they're losing. Right.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And now with, those abandoned shopping carts, there's a lot of technology and programs out there to help merchants try to retrieve those.
Mm-hmm.
And who and why those purchases were dropped so that they can recover, because yeah, that's lost revenue that they can see. You
Yeah.
can imagine you work at a supermarket, somebody comes up with a full cart, they scan everything and then walk out because they can't pay. It's same thing's happening online.
Really, it's actually a really good analogy. It makes perfect sense. And
Yeah.
like you said, there's so much technology in there now to be able to assess that, determine that. I've gotten emails to saying, "Hey, did you forget something? Buy now, you get 10% off even."
Mhm.
So there's incentives to do that, which is great. What a great offer you have as a business and helping other businesses be successful. And such a
Yeah.
critical piece of it that I would assume people probably aren't always necessarily aware that this is a problem I got to make sure I solve because they might not even know they have a problem, right?
Yeah, a lot of times that happens, and it's really fun to, similar to what I did in healthcare, to really look at what's driving their costs, their cases, how healthy the group was or wasn't. With payments, you can do the same thing. You can
Mhm.
look at a business and find out their customers' buying habits, when, where, how much, how often, what cards are declining the most, what are having the easy acceptance, and then really cater a program to help maximize those. Online fraud is a huge problem. When COVID
Mm.
happened, a lot of people, that's really, you saw the rise of the porch pirates, where people would take packages,
Mhm.
and it caused a lot of fraud issues with credit cards. And oftentimes these companies would really increase their fraud protection, but then that would decrease their number of, even it would affect their good credit card authorizations. And so really to kind of look in, dive deep on those numbers, find what that true magic mix is, and strategize to make sure they can get the optimal fraud protection without interrupting
The
the approval
transactions.
rates on the
Yeah,
good cards.
that's great. That's great insight into that.
Yeah.
And I loved your story about how you were in a business and the COVID hit and you had to pivot and change. Tell our listeners a little bit more about what challenges you faced as you did that, because that's a huge undertaking to go and do that.
Yeah, it absolutely was. So I was in the healthcare space. We were selling a software that helped providers and patients with chronic care management. When COVID hit, most of the healthcare facilities and hospitals that we were talking with stopped all conversations dead in its tracks, because all focus, of course, as it should have been, was spent on COVID related care. At that point, we were approached by some people in the area that ran a payment company, and they knew that I had good relationships with larger companies, and they wanted to partner and bring some introductions. And so I was able to, at that point, halt the healthcare, but still use the relationships, still use the partnerships that I had to reach out and provide, although it was a entirely different value, a value that I believe companies needed and would make a difference. And
Right.
so, while it was challenging, I leaned in 100%. I made a plan. I had a mentor, and his one line he would always say is, plan your work and work your plan.
Yeah,
And
I love that
so
one.
head down, and we did it. I think it was Walt Disney, um, who has a quote that says, I think, it's the start that stops most people, right?
Mm,
It was difficult. It was a new industry, but no, we made a few introductions, had some good success early, thank goodness. But I found myself diving in every single day, learning, and trying to shorten that learning curve so that I could actually provide value quicker. And it luckily, it worked out. It's still working out. And again, I enjoy, helping, providing value, and seeing differences it really makes in companies, allowing them to grow rather than to kind of halt what
right.
they're doing.
Yeah. I heard it multiple things in there. It was a really good story. Thank you for sharing that. That first of all, you had a mentor, so you got some help where it needed, which is so important because I don't think all these things we can do on our own anyway. And it's so much more fun and valuable if we have somebody to help guide us. But you also were open to a new opportunity. You didn't just say, I'm sorry, I'm just, focusing here. You're open to learning, you're open to growing and things like that, which is so key. So many people, change can be difficult for people, but you dove right into it. And the third thing I heard is that the value you're providing, and that's what jazzes you, the partnerships, working with people, making a difference, helping them sleep better at night, knowing that they're not losing any payments, there's processing, not
Mm,
losing clients and things like that. So those three together just speak volumes to me who you are as an entrepreneur and
yeah.
help partner with your people. So congratulations on that.
No, thank you very much. It is challenging. And I think a lot of us, as we go over the course of our career, we change and hopefully we mature. Fresh out of college, it might have been a little bit more difficult. But as I've, had a few years of experience, I learned that you really need to dive in and commit fully. But if you truly have a product or a service that you believe in, and a team on the back end that can help you provide that service ongoing. It means the world. I've had
Absolutely.
experiences where I've worked for companies that couldn't deliver what they said they could, and it was a nightmare for me, but also for those people that I worked with. And so I'm really happy where I am now. Found a team that does some amazing things, and I enjoy what I do, and enjoy certainly the value that it brings and the relationships that I'm able to develop.
Yeah. I read in your background, you said your jam is partner with people and
Mhm.
businesses. And so you're still doing that. It's just on a different, solution, which is really important. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was in the healthcare space, if a large company needed help with their benefit plan, I could help them. Outside of that, I was pretty limited. With the payment space, what I really enjoy is there's just so many different industries that I can work with.
Mm,
But also there are maybe some aligning services, whether it be logistics or software, packaging, loyalty programs. There's so many different things, and when I have those relationships, have those conversations. Maybe we're talking payments. Maybe it's, I can't make a change now, maybe a year from now, but I have these other pains. And so having some relationships that are kind of similar, um, you know, I'm still able to provide some value, whether it's may not be straight with my payments, but still offer something and bring in some good partners
yeah,
that way. So I do love to collaborate. I love to make connections, whether it's products, ideas, or people.
it's great. And obviously you're very successful at it, which is great too.
Mm.
So, Chris, as we end this podcast, do you have any tips for our listeners on managing their business, whether it's from your startup or where you are now? It'd be really insightful to share that.
Um, I do. I've worked for large corporations. I've worked as a solopreneur sometimes, and I can tell you, hard work is one thing, but really having, I think, good systems that will help maximize what you do. And something you touched on too is having a mentor.
Mm,
There are always people that have done what you've done, or have a certain experience that you can draw on. And what I found in most cases, those people want to help. And if you reach out, you can really expand what you can do quickly through the help of a mentor, through the help of a network. Maybe it's a mastermind, and then that will really allow you to really tenfold what you're doing. If you've got that spark inside of you and you've got that drive, um, you'll find a way to make it happen. And I think, bringing as many quality people in along with you is only going to help make the journey more enjoyable and more long lasting.
Yeah, what a great tip and a great way to end this podcast, but also very insightful because life is too short not to enjoy what you're doing. Life is too short not to get the help you need when you need it. And knowing what's in your wheelhouse and where you need help to say, this is not my expertise. I need help with somebody to help me set this up. And that's the value you're providing to your clients too, to say, hey, you don't have to be a payment processing expert. I'm going to help you do that. Right. So
Right. Yep. That's the
wonderful.
hope anyway.
Yeah, that's great, Chris. Thank you so much again for
Yeah.
being a guest on this. This is Jenny Rice signing off with Chris Dayton. Thanks again, Chris.
You're welcome. Thank you. Great talking with you. Bye now.